Welcome to my kitchen. Now, usually when we think of dressing or stuffing for Thanksgiving, we think of a bread-based dressing. Now, as a card-carrying carb lover, I love bread dressings. But that's not the only type of dressings that there are. There's a meat dressing that I'd like to share with you today. My mother would make this. I've made several variations on her recipe, but this is going to be a meat dressing, and what you're going to see in this is that there's so much variety. You can add or delete whatever you want with all of this. So, we start out, there's some heated oil, and first we have some onions to brown. It takes a while for the onions to brown, and then we're going to add some garlic. Now, garlic browns much more quickly than onions. So you want to do the onions first. We're going to throw in a little kosher salt to help that along. And this is the base where we get started, but we will be back in just a few minutes. Well, we're back. I got the onions, they're browning. I put the garlic in there. And now we start putting in the rest of the ingredients. So this is ground beef that we put in. I like to use 96% lean ground beef. You can do 93%, you can do 80%. Whatever you want to do is going to be fine. And actually, you could do ground pork. You could do ground turkey if you like. If you want to go vegan, you could do ground vegetable protein as well. So I like the 96% lean because you're not going to have to worry so much about fat or anything like that. I tell people, if this was any leaner, it would be chicken. So we're starting to brown that, and we start to add other ingredients. So we have some celery. Gives it some crunch. We put in some raisins to give it some sweetness. I put in some golden raisins just so that they have a little more color. And you want to put the raisins in early because that gives them time to plump up. Some cherry or grape tomatoes. I prefer cherry tomatoes, but they don't have, usually at the store I end up with the grape tomatoes, and they work fine. So, we're progressing along here. Throw in some walnuts. That gives it some crunch as well. As I thought about this, I've always used walnuts, but probably some chopped pecans or some chopped toasted pecans would really be great for something like this. It would add a greater depth of flavor than just the walnuts. And there's more. Some spinach, or some chopped pressed spinach. You can put that in there too. You could use kale, you could use Swiss chard, you could use whatever you wanted with that. And again, the nice thing about this is, whatever you put in, you can put in what you want to put in, or not put it in. And as far as quantity, you just put as much in as you want, or as little as you want. That's something that's really great about this dish. Alright, so we're ready for some seasonings now. So, a little more salt. Like to use kosher salt in a time like this. Got to be careful, not too much salt. I've learned from experience sometimes, you can always add salt in. It's awfully hard to take it out. Now, this is dressing, so we're going to put some sage in there too. Give it some flavor. Some coarse ground pepper is always good. And then something that's really wonderful, oregano leaves. Gives it some flavor, gives it some spice. And then last but not least, some rosemary. You can't go wrong with rosemary. Rosemary is something wonderful. So we're going to stir this all up now. And you see the colors there. And you see how the meat is browning. And so we continue with that. Now there are other things you could put in. My mom would always cut up some small pieces of salami and put it in there. You could do some bacon, you could do some pancetta, things like that. So really use your imagination. And even in terms of the spices, if you wanted to use some cumin, if you wanted to use some allspice or some thyme, you could put in some pimentos and some jalapenos, give it more of a southwestern or Mexican flavor. There's so much to do with all this. Really, the only limit to all this is going to be your imagination. So we're going to let this continue to brown, and we're going to be back in just a few minutes. And we're back, and you can see the meat is almost all browned. You don't want it to go too long or else it starts to get tough. So we're going to turn down the heat. We're almost done. Throw in some diced hard-boiled eggs. That adds to all of this. Now, one of my aunts would do it a little bit differently. She'll use breadcrumbs in this, and she will get a slightly beaten egg and mix it in there. It holds it together a little bit more. I like the hard-boiled eggs myself in all this. All right. And then last but not least, we're going to throw in some cheese. Obviously, if you're doing a vegan version, you're not going to use the cheese or the hard-boiled eggs, but the rest of it. And so, there you go. And so what you have here is a whole bunch of different flavors, and you have some savory and some sweet. You have some crunch and you have some soft. You could put some tofu in there if you wanted to. There's so many things you can do with all of this. So that's part of this, and you can look at this really as a little bit of a parable. As a little bit of a parable about who we are to be as the people of God. We're all different, and we have these different flavors, but we work together and we form something that is good. We form something that is even delicious. And we'll be back in just a bit. And here you go. You have a colorful, flavorful side dish, a dressing for your Thanksgiving dinner. And this doesn't just have to be for Thanksgiving, and actually sometimes at home I just make this and I let it be my entree as well. And you have a dish that is high in protein, that has vegetables, that is low in carbs and low in fat as well, and something that is delicious. So thank you for joining me today, and thank you for being part of St. Therese Parish. Even amidst all the challenges of 2020, there is so much to be thankful for, and we need to remind ourselves of that. And I am particularly thankful that St. Therese Parish has been a part of my life for so many years and 3 different tours of duty. St. Therese Parish has been a great blessing to me, and I hope it is to you as well. A very blessed Thanksgiving. God bless.